We are continuing with the teachings of Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj from the book I Am That. Now the questioner asks if Maharaj feels joy and sorrow. And Maharaj says that joy and sorrow is a state of mind. So the questioner in return asks if Maharaj knows love, the state of love. And Maharaj responds, he says that love is not a state, desire is a state. You know, in one of his quotes, Maharaj says that love is not selective, desire is selective. Therefore, desire is limited and love is unlimited. Unfortunately, what has happened today is that we have reduced love to a mere feeling based on conditions, appearances, situations. So, when things go the way I want them to go, then I'm in love with the world. Then I'm in love with people. Then I find compassion within myself. But when things are not in my control, when things are not going according to my plans, my ideas, then I'm not in love with the world. Then world is a horrible place. So, Maharaj says, the way he explains love is like this. He says, desire is, of course, a state of mind, but the realization of unity is beyond mind. To me, nothing exists by itself. All is the self, all is myself. When he says all is the self, he is talking about the supreme reality, the self with the capital S. To see myself in everybody and everybody in myself most certainly is love. Now, you see, Ramesh Balsekar would say that the recognition of consciousness, the essence that powers all human beings, when that recognition happens, the quality of our life, our relationship, everything changes. Because then there is no separation with the others. And he gave an example like this, that while the electricity, powers all the gadgets and enables them to carry out the functions that they are designed to do, nothing can ever destroy the electricity. Nothing ever happens to the electricity. The gadget may malfunction. The juicer in your kitchen will operate with electricity and take out juice. The toaster in your kitchen will operate with electricity and make toasts. Now, the gadget may break, the juicer may break, the toaster may break, but nothing happens to the essence, to the electricity which powers everything. The consciousness which makes us alive, nothing happens to the consciousness. It is never born, it never dies. And so the questioner, he further asks that, when I want something pleasurable, what is it that desires it? What is it that wants it? Is it the self or is it the mind? So Maharaj says that this question is wrong because there is no who desires it. And I'll just read this. He says, there is desire, fear, anger, and the mind says, this is me, this is mine. There is no thing which could be called me or mine. Desire is a state of mind, perceived and named by the mind. Without the mind perceiving and naming, where is desire? And you see, this is so strikingly similar to what Jiddu Krishnamurti said. That whatever the content arises, right? The fear, the anger, the jealousy, malice, he says, you are the content. You are not separate from that content. The whole thing is that I think that whatever is arising is separate from me and it is happening to me. Therefore, I am in constant opposition to it. So when the anger arises, in that moment, I see a separation with that anger. And now I want to fight that anger. I don't want to feel that anger. Because my mind has this concept, it has this belief that if it arises and if I do something harmful, then this will happen, that will happen. So, this only serves to strengthen that sense of personal identification, the image that I have formed within me and that I identify with myself. So once the identification with the infinite, with the limitless happens, then these things do not matter. And everything is seen as a happening. So it is just the mind which is labeling things as good and bad. I should be happy, I should not be unhappy. I should be calm, I should not be restless. I should be loving, I should not be angry. You see, all these dualistic concepts are created in the mind because the mind has been designed that way. So, the sense of personal identification creates a separation with what is being experienced. But the experience is actually not happening separately. There is no experiencer. It is all experiencing. You are the experiencing. And the questioner also asks that, can there be a perceiving without naming? So, this is what Jiddu Krishnamurti called undistorted perception. And this is what Maharaj calls perceiving is consciousness itself. He says naming cannot go beyond the mind, while the perceiving is consciousness itself. Consciousness, the very act of perception happens because of consciousness. You are conscious, therefore you perceive. Without this consciousness, would there be a perception? Now, the questioner, he gives a situation to Maharaj. He says that, okay, if suppose your child is ill, what would you do? Why these questions come up? These questions comes up mostly because the ego wants to identify with an idea of right and wrong. Because at each and every stage, we doubt ourselves, whether we are following the right path or are we deluding ourselves. It is the nature of mind to keep you confused. Mind itself is the confusion. So, the general perception is that maybe through more learning, through more reading Vedanta, Advaita, or other philosophies or spiritual scriptures, that somehow I will come to this understanding where all confusion will dissolve. So, the mind becomes extroverted. And Ramana Maharishi said that in order to know the truth, the mind has to become introverted. And Maharaj says the same here. You have to go within. The answers are within. They are not outside in the external world. Because it is the nature of mind to remain confused, and you are using that instrument to conceptually know the truth. It won't work. And when I say this, I do acknowledge the fact that intellectual understanding of the concept is also very helpful. It does bring a lot of peace. It does eliminate a lot of conflict. But the true realization is the awakening of the heart. When the mind just melts into the heart. So the questioner asks that, what will you do if your child is ill? So I'll just read what Maharaj has written here. He says, I don't get flustered. I just do the needful. I do not worry about the future. A right response to every situation is in my nature. I do not stop to think what to do. I act and move on. Results do not affect me. I do not even care whether they are good or bad. Whatever they are. If they come back to me, I deal with them afresh. There is no sense of purpose in my doing anything. Things happen as they happen, not because I make them happen, but it is because I am that they happen. So, once this realization sets in that you are not the doer of your actions, the result of this understanding is that your actions in life become spontaneous. And that simplifies life to a great extent. It brings a lot of peace. For the simple reason that you know that it is not your action and you don't remain concerned with the consequences. Whatever the consequences may be, you accept them. But you know that the consequences are happening, but they are not happening to you. There is no you. I remember I was speaking to someone a couple of months back, this young fellow, and he asked me, how do I become authentic? Now, I told him, just observe yourself while you say, how do I become authentic? How can you be authentic if you're asking how? You are authentic, you are just that. You operate with spontaneity. Authenticity means spontaneity. There is no way to be authentic. If you're asking how to be authentic, you are still seeing things from the limited prism of your mind. You are evaluating your actions, how they will align with the society, with the beliefs, with the theories. What will people think of you? You're concerned with the outcome, the consequences. So you're truly not authentic. Ramakrishna Paramhansa would become so ecstatic sometimes that he would just throw off his clothes and dance naked in front of everyone. He never cared about what other people are thinking, what they are saying. Yes, it may be shocking to most of us, who live with this conditioned mind that, and with the ideas that how we should behave in society, what is right and what is wrong. Now, I'm not saying that we should behave in that eccentric manner. But you see, there is no absolute right or wrong to anything. Sometimes when I'm on my terrace, I'm so happy. I'm in so much ecstasy that I start singing loudly. I don't care if anybody is listening. I start dancing. So that is authenticity. There is no way to be authentic. You are simply authentic the way you operate. So that is why Maharaj, he says that a right response to every situation is in my nature. Now, by right response, he does not mean what is right for the society. What is right according to the popular ideas? By right, he means what comes spontaneously. And when this message is understood, the need to be a good person dissolves. Because the sense of personal identification, which is a collection of identifications, the images, it is only that which is concerned with right and wrong and with good and being good and bad. But when you realize that everything is happening, but they are not happening to anybody, then you drop your concerns with what is right and wrong, what is moral and immoral, what is virtue and vice. So spontaneous action is an expression of love that Maharaj is talking about here. It is just spontaneous. It is not selective. It is not based on conditions. I see somebody, I like them, I just give them a hug. I don't care what other people are thinking or saying. Yes, some people may take offense. And if they do, respecting their sensitivity, I may even apologize to them. I may say, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be so, upfront with you. But that said, I'm not going to create any internal dialogue for myself that why did I behave this way? Why did I behave that way? I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that. So Maharaj is free from all that. He's saying that I simply do what I think is right in the moment. Because my capacity to act in the moment is determined by my past conditioning. So if the child is sick, Maharaj will probably call a doctor and get the medicines and then leave rest to God. So, he says that identification with the appearances leads to wrong notions. Just like, when you look in the lake where the water is moving and you see the reflection of the moon appears shaky. But in reality, if you look up, the moon is the way it is. So our problem is that we are looking at the world with shaky waters. We are looking at a reflection of the world in the shaky waters. And this shaky water is nothing but our own sense of personal identification, which is an image, which is continuously changing, which is a flux. But the space in which this individualized entity and other individuals appear, you are that. And that is unconditional love. So I guess we'll conclude this video. I'll see you in the next.